Hello, 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 my little maniacs. This is your host, the Maniacs Gaming, coming back at you with another video. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Buccaneers' epic win over the New Orleans Saints from last Sunday. I'm recording this a little bit late, as for those who don't know, I am going on vacation. So I've got a lot of things going on, and I think this video is coming out really late. I'm not entirely sure when it's going to be coming out, but hopefully before the Bucs-Ravens game. But we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to get everything recorded so I can get on vacation sooner rather than later. But anyway, guys, so obviously the big point of this game was the Bucs dropped a 50-burger on the Saints, and the Saints put up 27. So obviously the box score is one of the more funnier things to look at because you got Tampa Bay scoring 17 points in the first, then getting outscored 27-7 in the second, and then the third and the fourth they put up 27 points, shutting out the Saints in 3 out of 4 quarters. So overall, this is a really good win by Tampa. We'll get more into it with the stats here, but this was an absolute massive win for Tampa as they are now 4-2 with the game against the Ravens on Monday Night Football, and then next week against the current first place team as I'm recording this, the Atlanta Falcons. Hopefully this doesn't age well and the Falcons wind up winning and we wind up losing. Or, even better, the Falcons lose on Sunday against the Seahawks. We'll have to see what happens. Anyway, so Baker Mayfield for the Bucs, 24 for 36, 325 yards, 4 touchdowns to 3 picks, was sacked 1 time for 8-yard loss. Now, the 3 picks, I'm not going to blame entirely on Baker. He did have one throw that was towards Mike Evans that the Saints DB just undercut and just got in there. So I'll give Baker a little bit of heat for that one. But then the other 2, you just can't blame him. One's a tipped ball at the line, tip ball drill. Cam Jordan just went up and got it, so I can't blame too much there. And then the second one was off McMillan's hands and then just right to a defender. So again, just can't blame Baker for that one. But overall, Baker had a really good game. Honestly, 4 touchdown performance, you're never going to complain about that. But then Russians, where this team became a little bit more balanced. So overall, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, 36 lawn, which was rushing game was actually quite balanced between Sean Tucker and Bucky Irvin, both getting 14 carries. Tucker was a little bit more efficient with 136 yards and a touchdown with a lawn of 36, whereas Bucky had the 14 carries for 81 yards, 1 touchdown, and a lawn of 31. And then Sterling Shepard also got in on the action a little bit with 4 carries for 31 yards, a lawn of 24. And then Baker got involved with 3 carries for 29 yards at 12 is the lawn there. Just a really good performance for Tampa Bay on the ground. Like I said, we needed to control the ground game if we want a chance in this game, and we absolutely did that. As for receiving-wise, Godwin, 11 for 125, 2 touchdowns. Lawn of 55, which wound up being one of his touchdowns, on 13 targets. Sean Tucker, 3 for 56, 1 touchdown. Lawn of 36, which wound up being the touchdown, on 3 targets, so he's perfect. Miller, who had 1 massive grab for 39. Mike Evans only had 2 for 34, but again, lawn was 22 yards, 6 targets. Again, a lot of this is going to be latter midweek. Obviously, he struggles against that. But also, Mike was dealing with a hamstring injury, which he is currently expected to be playing through on Monday against the lovely Ravens on Monday Night Football at home. So we're going to see how he progresses and see how he'll bounce back next week. And then Bucky Irvin, 2 for 24. Sterling, 3 for 23. K-Dot, 2 for 15, and 1 touchdown. And then Wirfs has the receiving yards because Godwin at the end of half lateraled the ball and it went right to Wirfs and he took it for 9 yards and wound up fumbling it, which was pretty funny. And McMillan, who had only 1 target the entire game, but that 1 target wound up being the turnover, so I can understand why, Baker didn't want to go back to him. Now, as for the fumbles for Tampa, Wirfs had 1, which was lost, and then he had 1 that was recovered by K-Dot, and then Antoine Winfield Jr. actually had a scoop where he scooped the football that was punched out by, I believe it was Tyke Smith, on Chris Olave. Yeah, it was Chris Olave, and then Antoine Winfield Jr. returned to the house for 6 points, which is absolutely insane to see for him, especially considering it was his first game back from injury. So shout out to Antoine Winfield Jr. And then as for the team as a whole, obviously Levante leading the way with tackles as he likes to do. He had 1 sack, 1 TFL. Other big names, Vita Vea obviously got involved with a sack of his own and a TFL. William Golston, who had a sack as well and a TFL. And then KJ Brayton Bradley, who split a sack. And then Kalijah Cansey, who had a sack and 2 TFLs, one of which was absolutely beautiful against Kamara, where he suplexed him to the ground. It was beautiful. Oh. Also, it wasn't obvious. I was lying earlier. Like, this is being recorded on Monday. I just didn't want to time date it that bad. I didn't realize the standings pop up there. But overall, just a good game defensively by Tampa. Obviously, they let the Saints score 27 on them, one of which was a punt return touchdown. But overall, just a good defensive game. Interceptions for both Zion and Tyke Smith on Rattler. So, honestly, overall, just a really good job overall from them. And then kick returns, we had 6 of them total, averaging 153 yards total, lawn of 30. Can't complain too much about the kick return game. As for punt returns, McMillan was the main guy there with only 3. 12 yards total, a lawn of 11. One of them he should have fair caught and didn't and got absolutely slammed into. And then shout out McLaughlin for being responsible for 9 points, going perfect once again. And then Camarda did a decent job, honestly, with punting. 3 punts for 132 yards, a lawn of 47, and 1 inside the 20. Now, as for the Saints, Spencer Rattler, 22 for 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, was sacked 5 times. One of which I don't blame him for because the snap was dropped, and he just had to dive on the football just to save it from not being a pick. Not being a turnover. And then, overall-wise, rushing, they could not get much going on the ground. Like, Alvin Kamara had 13 carries for only 40 yards. 1 touchdown, lawn of 7. Spencer Rattler had 4 carries for 27 yards. The lawn was 16, which I believe was towards the end of the game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Williams got 2 for 7. Mims 1 for 5. Shaheed 1 for 2. So in total, 21 rushes for 81 yards. With a lawn of 16, which was from Rattler, where he just took off. Receiving-wise, Foster Moreau led the way with 2 receptions for 54 yards, lawn of 41. Juwan Johnson, 348. Bub Memes, 545, caught the 1 touchdown. And Cedric Wilson, 2 for 28. Kamara, 5 for 24. Tipton with 1 for 15. Mims, 2 for 13. And then Shaheed, 1 for 11. And then Olave, 1 for 5, which was his fumble, which in return knocked him out of the game into concussion protocol. Hopefully he's okay. And then fumbles, we already talked about this. Olave had the one that Antoine returned to the house. Rattler, just a bad snap. And then Alvin Kamara, I believe he fumbled out of bounds. Defensive-wise, Howden obviously led the way in tackles. So as did Lattimore up there. TFL leaders go to Alontae Taylor. Willie Gay had 1. Chase Young had 1. And that's about it. And then the 1 sack for Willie Gay. And interceptions, Abram got 1, Adebo got 1, and Cam Jordan got 1. Man, I just realized how much he just didn't show up this game. Kind of wild to see, actually. Anyway, alright. Kick returns, Shaheed had 1 for 25. And then punt returns, he had 2 for 56, which the long was 54, which he did return for the touchdown. And shout out Grubb for going perfect on field goals and extra points. But overall, this was just a massive win for Tampa. This is just a win they absolutely desperately needed. So, I'm actually quite happy with them and how they performed in this game. They did really well overall. Offense was there, defense was there. There were some situations where they can improve on, such as third downs again, and just allowing the Saints to come back in that second quarter, take the lead. It was 24-27 at half, and then we just happened to come out at halftime and just be the better team. But we can't be allowing that to happen every week because we can't be expected to win every week when we're doing that. But anyway, guys, I've got to finish this up because I've got to get ready because I've literally got today to record a bunch of videos just to be able to get on vacation because I do leave tomorrow. So I got to get all of these taken care of before I leave. So anyway, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on that noti bell on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Try and hit that by the end of the year. Try and hit 1,600 by the end of next month. Let's get it, fam. And as always, I will see all you guys later. Stay crazy, fam.